We go from one guy who never stops eating to one person who I don't know if this person eats at all. It's a
Oh, come on.
Well, you don't eat any good food.
I have a tremendous appetite.
But all you eat is vegetables. What else do you eat?
Hold on. When was the last time you had a steak or a hamburger?
Never. She's never had it.
You vegan?
Never?
Is it really never?
You know what? You sound like my analyst, Arch. Just because you don't eat meat doesn't mean that you don't eat incredibly healthy food.
Well, you're smart. I'm not making fun of you. I wish I was in the shape you're in. I'm fat and out of shape. I should be eating only vegetables like you.
You know what? But you can't just eat vegetables. You obviously need protein from other sources.
I'm joking around.
Not everybody wants to eat a murdered animal.
You've never had a steak.
But you've never in your life?
Like I just went for a run here in beautiful Western PA.
How far is the run?
I passed a dead deer. I passed a dead raccoon.
Yeah.
I passed like a beheaded weasel and a few snakes.
Okay.
None of that looked appetizing to me.
Hey, I'm telling
you, it don't look good right there.
Aditi, I would have grabbed that raccoon. I would have eaten his flesh right off.
Strange guy.
He's sick. Now he's sick.
That's disturbing.
This is your friend, Aditi. This is your friend.
I would not have eaten the raccoon. I'm kidding.
Takes all types. It keeps life interesting, right?
Maybe Deshaun Watson should eat some raccoon. I don't know. Maybe it would help him. Nothing else is helping him right now.
You know, so my producer, we do have the Browns in 2 weeks. I hope I'm allowed to say that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. So anyway, whatever. But my producer just sent our group chat, our crew chat, a stat from a gentleman named Mike Clay. An absurd 45% of passes directed at Amari Cooper have crossed off target this season. We haven't seen an off target rate that high for a player with 40 plus targets since at least prior to 2011.
Wow.
45 passes have been off target, essentially uncatchable, to your wide receiver one, to arguably one of the most dependable, reliable, best route runners, so you know he's going to be in the right spot at the right time, guys in the NFL. That's ugly. That's really ugly.
Aditi, this is a tough question to ask, but does Kevin have the ability, if he wanted, to take him out? I know Kevin's a smart guy. He's watching the film just like everybody else, and he knows the targets are 45%. 45 passes are off target. Do you believe he has the ability to say, you know what, we got to go to Jameis Winston? Or does he need more time and more of a sample size to get that blessing?
I can't answer that definitively. I don't know the answer to that. My suspicion, my hunch, my general feeling is that he does not. That is not his power and his decision solely.
But to Aditi, see, and a lot of people have said that, and I agree that that's probably true. I think your thoughts on the matter are I would agree with you. But what I would say to that is, Kevin Stefanski has made a lot of money. He's not like the rest of us that can't afford to lose their job. If he got fired, his money is guaranteed. If I were in Kevin Stefanski's shoes, and I'm not, so maybe if I actually were, I would do this differently. But I believe, knowing myself, that if I were in the position that Kevin is, where he completely has the hammer because his money's guaranteed, and I wanted to bench Watson, and Jimmy Haslam said, you absolutely cannot bench Deshaun Watson, I would say, Jimmy, as long as I'm the head football coach, I'm going to make the decision. And I would force Jimmy's hand to either fire me or back off if I were him. I'm not, and he's maybe not that personality, but I think that's ridiculous. The coach should have the absolute say on that.
You know what, Bull, I don't disagree with you there either. And I would just add one thing. Kevin Stefanski would be offered another job like that. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a man who's a 2-time coach of the year. We're talking about a guy that in his first year, under the craziest COVID circumstances and all of that, led his team to not only the playoff, a huge playoff win. We're talking about a man that last year had 5 different starting quarterbacks and once again led that team to the playoffs. So you talk about money. I don't think that Kevin Stefanski is the type of guy that's like, oh, all right, well, whatever, I'll collect my millions and sit on the couch. There's not a person, it is so hard for me to believe that he would not have a job immediately. And there's nothing about Kevin Stefanski that rubs people wrong in the way that perhaps, I mean, as much as I personally love him, Mike Vrabel or a Bill Belichick, there's none of that. So Kevin Stefanski would have no trouble finding another job.
Good.
There you got it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, okay, so 1-4. If we're in another situation like this, in a week from today, how do you go in front of the team, right? I mean, how do you go in front of the team?
That was actually my question. Good answer. Good way to go.
I was reading your mind.
There you go.
Well, Dustin, the thing that concerns me is that, sometimes issues are isolated to one side of the ball, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they infect the entire locker room. And I think that what we're seeing from the defense is almost more alarming, more disturbing, because for me at least, it's so unexpected. And I know that Jim Schwartz bit my head off during that preseason game when I talked about building off of last year. And he said, no, nothing is guaranteed. This is a new year. And he was definitely salty about not having his entire team playing together in the preseason. So he was right. You don't build off of the great performance of last year, but you certainly felt like all the people that are back, all the time on task that they had last year, you would have expected them to be able to play faster, play better. And I get that there are injuries. I get all of that. But still, the things that we're seeing, the mental hiccups, the mental mistakes, that's just alarming. But again, I keep using that word alarming. I'm sorry. But you almost wonder the dysfunction that's happening on the offensive side of the ball and what internal frustration is or internal turmoil is. Has it spread to the entire team? Is it now affecting the defense too? Because otherwise, this is very uncharacteristic, don't you think, of the defense, or at least what we expected of the defense?
Yeah,
absolutely. I've been in a situation like that before. Aditi, you've been on this show.
Wait, elaborate. You've been in a situation like that?
Yeah, my last year at Ohio State, we had like a ton of really good players. That 2015 team offensively was loaded with weapons, and we catch ourselves struggling to Maryland and stuff like that. And I remember just being on the defensive side. And just everybody was upset because of the fact that you get a stop, and then 3 plays later they call in the punt team, and it's like, dude, like you. So it was to a point where it was a bunch of defensive guys that was ready to go down there. Me being the captain of the defense, I had to stop them multiple times for going down there and cussing everybody out. But yeah, it gets frustrating for sure being a defensive player. But the question that I wanted to ask you is, you've been on this show multiple times, and you've always talked about how Kevin Stefanski is not handicapped to just his own style of offense. He's very open, and we've seen him do things with multiple quarterbacks and get them to go out there and play well on Sunday. What is it about Deshaun? Like, Deshaun is probably, arguably, talent-wise, the best quarterback he's had, and for some odd reason, why is it not materializing on Sunday?
You're just putting me in a bad spot, aren't you?
Not a question.
Thank you.
You can dance around it.
You can.
I think that your talent can only get you so far. And that at the end of the day, what separates you, what distinguishes you, is your ability to work, your grind, your willingness to work, your approach. And I just think that in a situation like this, where you've ripped up the offensive staff, you've added a lot to the offense, it takes a lot of extra work. And perhaps Deshaun has put that in, and it's just not there yet. Perhaps that's still something that he's working on. I don't want to disparage or malign anybody's approach. I just think that it takes a really strong.
Yeah, we got you.
I'm getting stuck. You got what I'm saying here?
Yeah, we understand.
Don't
We
flip
get you.
this, Mikey. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Listen.
You know what? It takes a lot of work. And they ripped it up. They ripped up the offense. They ripped up an offense that last year worked with 5 different starting quarterbacks that pulled off some pretty incredible things. and they ripped it up and started anew. And so there should be some sort of a learning curve. And we keep talking about this, that nobody plays in the preseason. So the whole first month is kind of ugly anyway. I mean, I just had the Jaguars. I just had the Jaguars and the Colts. And,
Flacco,
they've
baby.
been so close. And then finally, boom, it broke open.
Yeah, I guess on a lighter note, I think it's, like Tyvis said, like you mentioned it with the 5 different quarterbacks. Hey, look, sometimes our boss says, no, you can't do that. You got to find a different way to skin a cat. You can't take the quarterback out yet. All right, well, here's one thing I can control. I'm scrapping that whole playbook. Let me go back to what I know, something easier. Nick Chubb is coming back. We can run the ball a little more. I think they got to go back to the drawing board on what they're teaching up front and how they're going about running the ball. But don't you think it's an obvious move to kind of shift gears when it comes to the playbook? Because right now, what they've been trying to install or work with the last 2 years with the shotgun stuff, it's just not tenable at this point.
And again, do they have full autonomy to do that? Or is there a group in that building that thinks a 3-yard run, a 4-yard run is not an efficient play? Is there a segment
is this year
that building that thinks that, they need to pass more? That's a movement in the National Football League, not just there. And I don't buy into that. I certainly am old school. I think that those 3 and 4-yard runs in the first quarter very often turn into 12 and 15 and 40-yard runs in the third and fourth quarter. I believe in the cumulative effect of going at a defense. I believe in physical play. I think in the AFC North, that's how you need to do that. But there are people that think you need more. And obviously they make a lot more money than I do, those people. So who am I to say this?
Now you are
but
the person.
I said it to you guys last week. Look, I think Nick Chubb is the best player on that offense. I think the offense should run through Nick Chubb. But that's just me.
Aditi,
and
usually...
I don't know that Kevin Stefanski has full autonomy over, I think, again, he often talks about how they are very collaborative there, which I think is a very nice way of saying that there are a lot of people that have input.
Aditi, just because they're making more money doesn't mean they're more qualified. My one of the statements that the guys here have all heard me say a million times is the suits bleep up everything. So that's true. Most managers don't know what the hell they're doing, and so it's not a surprise that they would be screwing up. And you're
look,
right.
Bull, this is all. Look at what's going on with the Jets. They're not 0-5. They're 2-3. Their defense has actually been playing well. They climbed out of a hole in Minnesota, and it's like, okay, now you're going to go get rid of your defensive-minded head coach, and that's going to solve everything, and you're going to put everything on the quarterback. I think certain we can sit here and find organizations throughout the National Football League where you sort of question ownership in certain ways. And, some owners are very hands-off and they trust their football people to football. And some feel like this is such an enormous investment or such a vanity project or, something that they feel so personally invested in. There isn't a one-size-fits-all by any means.
Well, they let the Jets,
it's
like
not
the
the Browns
Browns,
alone that are struggling here.
The Jets, like the Browns, are a bad organization, and they're letting the quarterback run everything. And then when that happens, it usually goes poorly. Aditi, thank you, as always. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You got it.
Robert Saleh was gone.
My DC, man.
And the second, Aaron Rodgers kind of pushed him off.
Yeah.
Remember that video?
Yeah, that was there.
And then they tried to pretend there was nothing to that, which obviously there was.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't like him, so he's gone. And they got to win with Aaron Rodgers because he's got this probably his last year. Go ahead, Mikey.
Well, it's just interesting. The Jets' ownership had a decision between the head coach and the quarterback. They chose the quarterback.
Yeah.
We may see what happens in a similar situation here in Cleveland.
That's true.
No. That listen. If I'm just hearing Aditi say it, if the ownership took forever to give you an extension, you won Coach of the Year twice. That was one thing. They made you fire your best friend last year. That's another thing. They made you hire another dude in Dorsey to come in and revamp the offense. That's another thing. They told you that you're not allowed taking Deshaun Watson out, and you're not allowed reverting to the old playbook. What do you do? You're a graduate assistant.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
You're a grad ass.
Yeah, I don't know why they'd put up. I don't know why he would put up.
You're
with
like
that.
a QC.
You're holding up. You're holding up the plays for the scout team. Hey, my guard, I need you to kick out.
he'll put up with it because
You guys
of
got it
the
on two.
relationship that he's built with the players.
I don't
and he don't
understand
want to
that.
like.
I would never.
He won't want to look like a sellout. Like, all right, I'm gone.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It is.
I mean, at some
if
point-
you think about it, the offense overachieved so much last year, and then they essentially fired the whole offensive staff.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it would be one of those things that if he has the love and the respect of those players,
Yeah.
and he made that decision, even though if the owner did tell him he couldn't
Yeah.
do it, and he did the decision, and the players will back him.
I agree.
The longer he waits,
The players will be like no.
Yeah.
the longer
did
he
right.
waits, though, Tyvis, that meter, because he's being a good company man. It's on me. I got to coach it better. I got to be better. Pretty soon, people gonna believe you.
Yeah, that's true too.
People gonna believe you.